Spring bear hunting is in full swing, folks. So I'm late to the party right here, but I figured I would present you with a specialized gear list for a certain type of spring bear hunting. This is in Alaska, right? So we're expecting all kinds of different weather, probably some extreme stuff, and some gnarly conditions. We're going to be battling salt water at times. So we're going to have special needs to take care of our rifles and so forth. But we're going to have a ball. And for the first time, I'm taking my daughter, Sophie, who will be 12, on our trip, turning 12 on our trip, for her first out-of-state hunt. This is a pretty special thing to me and to her. So if that tells you anything, it will tell you that I'm not taking her somewhere particularly, how shall I put it, not challenging. This could be challenging, but not so extreme and dangerous that I'm afraid to take my little girl there, right? We're going on a boat. We're going to hunt with Alaska Premier Sport Fishing, my old friend Travis Larson and his crew, and we're going to steam out of Homer. I don't know if steam's the right term, but we're going to embark out of Homer and go down along the coast of eastern Alaska and do some black bear hunting. We'll glass from the boat, we'll get dropped off in Zodiacs along the gravelly coast, and we'll hunt up and down the coast. And there's a party of 7 of us, all in, all friends of mine. It's going to be a great trip. So thanks for tuning in today, folks. I'm Joseph Von Benedict. This is the Backcountry Hunting Podcast, and as those of you looking at this on YouTube can see, I have a pile of gear on the table in front of me. For once, I decided to do a gear list, and I do gear lists differently. Those of you who have heard the few that I've done in the past know that I like to not just say what I'm taking, but why I'm taking it, why I've chosen that specific product. And that's what I plan to do today, but I've really gone and complicated things for myself by getting it all together, almost all, so that I can handle it, show it to those of you viewing on YouTube, and discuss what and why I'm choosing for this. Now, there are some unusual gear items for a hunt like this. You usually don't need a waterproof floatable gun case, right? Well, as we're getting transported back and forth from the mothership, if I can use that term, to the coast, we will want to have our rifles in a waterproof floatable case to protect them, for one thing. And then, of course, if you, for some reason, manage to drop one over, we're all human. I'm clumsy, probably more clumsy than most of you. Anyway, that's one thing. On the other hand, there's some things we don't need. We don't need to take a Jetboil unless, or other backpacking stove, I should say, unless we really want the ability to just have a hot drink or a hot meal on the coastline as, we're hunting the day away. And I may do that, very probably will do that myself, but what I compiled here is a list of crucial gear. So, I've got my handy dandy notes right here. I'm going to put this gear list up on our Patreon site, so you can go there and print it off. And that's patreon.com/backcountry. We'd love to have you join our little backcountry hunting tribe there. And if you're so inclined, you could contribute a few dollars to the health of the podcast. Really makes it, it helps me justify the time I spend creating it. It makes such a difference. Okay, let's start at the top. First thing you're going to need is your Alaska hunting and fishing licenses. Now, I'm not going to hold those up in front of you, but I can tell you that you can get them online, have them shipped to you. You can buy them there in a store. But the crucial thing you need to know about this is your bear tag is actually a metal tag. It's a locking tag that you'll buy once in the state, or you can pre-order it. But if you pre-order it, give yourself at least 2 or 3 weeks for shipping so you can make sure it gets to you. Again, can't hunt if you don't have your licenses and tags. And we're going to be doing as much fishing as we are hunting, by the way. This is a combo deal with Alaska Premier Sport Fishing, where we'll fish most mornings when the bears are kind of dormant, right? And then we will hunt those long Alaska afternoons and evenings right up close to midnight some of the time probably, because I don't think it's getting dark until probably after 11 when we'll be there. Okay, next crucial thing, rifle. Can't hunt without your rifle or bow, if you're taking a bow too, right? Some good friends do that with these guys. This is a hunt with a lot of opportunity generally. We probably won't see a Boone and Crockett bear, but I anticipate seeing a lot of bears and a lot of good mature boars. So I've got a rifle that I will use to showcase. This is actually not the one I'm taking, but it's all set up, it's ready to go the way I like to have a rifle before heading out on a trip like this. This is the X-Bolt that I took to Alaska moose hunting with my good buddy Joe Kennedy a year and a half ago. 300 Winchester Magnum. It's a very accurate rifle. I'm shooting Barnes bullets, and I've got a good Leupold scope on it, VX6 3 to 18 in this case, with my favorite level, my favorite bubble company on there. It's Holland's Signature series. You can get those off Amazon for about 60 or 70 bucks. Feels like a lot, but once you start using it, you realize how good they are. And then I've got my Hillbilly turret created here with numbers written on the top after crunching my ballistics and proving them out at the range, right, with a silver metallic Sharpie marker. Now, the rifle that my daughter and I are taking is different than this, but it will be similar in the fact that it's got Cerakote on it, so it's impervious or really well protected, let's put it that way, against the salt water and the humidity, the really corrosive environment usually encountered along the Alaska coastline. And it will have a good composite stock on it as well, like this one. So while I'm looking at the shooting setup here, let's go to the next item on the list, and that's a sling. This one is a simple black strap, nylon strap, with a rubberized internal surface so it sticks to your shoulder. Really crucial. I don't like great big wide Cobra type slings because they're inflexible, they're noisy, they're heavy, they don't fit over your shoulder and mold to it well, and they tend to slip off a lot. I like a good flexible strap like that with a rubber interior. This isn't actually my favorite, but it's one of them. My very favorite is the M19 sling by Red Kettle. Check those out. Let's see, I think that's about all on the rifle, except I do have on my list here to bring a neoprene scope case or cover. This is really important to protecting it if you fall with it and that scope takes a light bump against a rock or a log or something like that. Maybe you bump it against the side of the boat as you're getting from the boat into the Zodiac to head ashore and hunt. A lot of scope damage situations, meaning your scope gets bumped hard enough to either knock it off so you're not shooting, point of aim, point of impact anymore, which is bad, or just scratch it, which, nobody likes to scratch their nice scope, right? So a neoprene scope cover is a really good thing to bring along. I like these better than flip-up caps, and I like them better than the bikini types that, cover the front and the back but don't give the scope any protection. It's just me, but it works, right? Bring the rifle back up, and let's go to the list now. How about ammo? You got your rifle set up, the whole thing, right? Sling, scope, everything. You can't shoot something if you don't bring ammo as well. So bring at least one box of ammo if you're going out of state to hunt, and 2 is better, because if you do happen to knock your scope off badly, it may take you 10, 15, even 20 rounds to get it really zeroed again, especially if your scope's behaving a little wonky after getting knocked real hard. So I always bring at least 2 boxes. Okay, and these are both just good examples. They're both Barnes ammunition. My friend Andrew Smith is going to be hunting with me again. He was on the Kodiak Island Sitka blacktail hunt a couple years ago, where we had that extreme cold spell, the coldest sustained spell in something like 40 or 50 years. Extremely good hunting though. But anyway, he's bringing his 6.5 Creedmoor, so it's light for big bears, but he's made a great choice of ammunition. 127 grain LRX boat tail bullet. His little rifle is a legendary Arms Works rifle, and it shoots that stuff great. Okay, next item on the list. We talked about the sling, the scope cover. How about an ammo carrier? The ones I like best, there's a lot of different ways you can do this, but the ones I like best are, I believe, called the belt stalker ammo sheath or something like ammo carrier, but they're made by Galco Gun Leather, and they're about 70 or 80 bucks. They're fantastic. I've got 2 Magnum ones and one for standard diameter cartridges, and they all look just like this one I'm handling right here. They're scarred up and gnarly and fantastic. They're the best thing I've found. Now, why is that important? Why is it important to have ammo somewhere like right on your belt where you can get to it quickly? I can't tell you, folks, how often I've heard tales and even seen it myself where somebody will start shooting, they'll hit a deer, elk, bear, whatever, empty their gun, and need another round or two. And they're either back in their pack where they dropped it on the ridge 200 yards back, or they're in the truck or whatever. I put that ammo carrier on my belt when I start hunting, and it stays there. When I put my pants on, it comes with me. If I change my pants, I immediately put it on the belt on the new pants. I don't go anywhere without that ammo for the duration of the hunt. That way I've always got what's in my rifle, so 3 to 5 rounds plus the 10 in that carrier. Really works for me. Some people will like put a couple rounds in some loops on a sling, like those broad Cobra type slings I was talking about. I don't like that either, because if you have to shoot offhand in a hurry, that sling with the weight of those cartridges is going to swing under your rifle and it pulls your crosshairs back and forth. Just not a good idea. That's another reason I don't like heavy slings in general. You can put them in the buttstock as well. That's a pretty good way, like if you have a sleeve with some cartridge loops, neoprene sleeve that goes on your rifle. But I don't think they're quite as protected, and they kind of mess with the balance of my rifle, so I still like them on my belt. Okay, next item on the list, a bipod. Now, a lot of you may prefer to shoot over your backpack, and that's fine. It's not as precise, but it's awfully fast, right? I use a Spartan Precision Equipment Pro Hunt TAC bipod for a lot of reasons. They weigh less than half a pound. They attach in less than a second with a rare earth magnet. You've probably heard of me talk about these before. You can extend the legs, you can screw the legs right off and put longer legs from your trekking poles, if you have Spartan trekking poles or whatever, or sometimes you can use legs from a tripod, if you got a Spartan tripod. I've got one right here. So you can turn this into a sitting height bipod, a standing height bipod, prone bipod, whatever you need to in a matter of about 60 seconds if you've got the parts with you, right? Really, really good unit. They are expensive. I'm not going to apologize for that, because they're made of the finest carbon fiber and machined aluminum you can get in the UK by people that are obsessive about quality. I really like my Spartan Precision Equipment, if you can't tell. Other bipods work fine as well, but I like something that's light and that I can take off my rifle and put in my pocket. I generally carry that one in the cargo pants, pocket of my pants on the left side, and I can sneak that thing out like Roy Rogers drawing his 6-shooter and snap it into my rifle as I'm kneeling down and then laying down into the prone position. I can get prone on a bipod real fast and real stable. It makes a difference when you've got to make a challenging shot with only seconds to do it in. Okay, how about that backpack? For a boat-based hunt, do you need a big backpack? You know, not necessarily, but potentially. And so I generally just take a full-size backpack and I scrunch it down with all the compression straps and use it for my day pack. And that way, if I do need to help a friend, let's say we shoot a big bear and we're taking all the meat and the hide and the skull, and there's 2 or 3 of us, we're trying to get it all out in one load. Yeah, you're going to have a couple of quarters, a back strap, and maybe the skull. Say you've had time to cape it off. Or maybe you're taking the front quarters and the skull and hide while your hunting partner takes the back quarters and the back straps. Whatever the case may be, you're likely to be carrying some weight. So I like a good full-size backpack, even for day hunting. The one I've got right here beside me is by XO Mountain Gear. It's a full-size expedition grade pack. You can choose how big you want your bag to be in terms of cubic inches, but I recommend something of at least 4,200 inches on the bottom end, and I don't mind hunting with a pack of 7,000 cubic inches. They work really well. This one carries fantastic. It's really durable. I believe these are the best made, most durable backpacks on the scene. I think they're the best you can get right now. My other favorite is my Stone Glacier Terminus, which is a 7,000 cubic inch pack that weighs only 3.8 pounds all in. That's like 3 pounds less than this one. This one's still pretty light, but it's my go-to if I'm hunting extreme high altitude stuff. The Stone Glacier is. Where I need it to be real robust, real versatile, a few more pockets and so forth. I like the XO Mountain Gear pack. And what's next on our list here? My waterproof case that I'm going to show you just slid down the wall. Ranging binoculars. You can either go with your standard binocular and a good rangefinder, but I have come to really depend on a good binocular with an onboard rangefinder. These are the Leupold version, right? They're about $1,600. They've got good glass, a great rangefinder in them. Their only downside is, like most of this type, they're a bit heavy, but they're less weight all in than a standalone binocular and a standalone rangefinder, right? This rangefinder right here, I'm real tempted to bring this one just to put it through its paces. This is the new RX 5000. Leupold's most advanced rangefinder yet, and the really cool thing about it that I will be putting to work is its ability to project a waypoint onto your onX Maps app. They Bluetooth together. It's incredible. You just hit pin next on your app, so you do have to have your phone if you're going to project a waypoint. And then you range that thing. So if we're on a boat, say 800 yards off the coastline, and we're floating down and there's a bear in a little hidden pocket and we got to climb for, man, I can ping him and drop a waypoint right where he's at. And then when we get to the coastline, we can't see above us in all those broken bluffs, we'll know where to go. Pretty awesome. My other go-tos are generally either the GPO range guide, great value for the money, nice little optic, or the creme de la creme is, in my opinion, the Swarovski EL range with tracking assistant. Whatever you use, just pick good glass because you're going to be looking through it a lot, and it will face serious challenges in terms of wet environment, salt water, fogging, the whole works. All right, how about a spotting scope? Do you think you need a spotting scope? Maybe. If you're determined to really evaluate a bear before you shoot it, you probably should have one, and hopefully you'll have time to sit on that rocky shoreline, glassing up 500 or 600 yards and watch a bear that's, beachcombing before you decide whether or not to go after him. Or if you have a close encounter, hopefully that bear is obvious. And bears are really hard to judge, right, folks? But maybe you'll get lucky and that bear will be obviously big, and then you just shoot him. I would recommend, if you're going with a fair-sized group like I am, there'll be 7 of us hunting, that you take a couple of spotting scopes. And you don't need a giant thing like you'd need for judging, a once-in-a-lifetime bighorn sheep a mile away across a desert canyon. I will probably bring this compact Swarovski. Great little optic. They're very lightweight, 17 to 40 power. With a lightweight tripod, this combination weighs less than my full-size Swarovski or a full-size Leupold or Vortex, Burris, what have you, spotting scope. And the glass is fantastic. I also carry, I don't have it here with me, but I keep a phone scope that I can pop onto the rear ocular lens of that little Swarovski and get some great in-the-field footage, whether it's an animal feeding across a distant hillside or a kill shot. I've done that, self-filmed those with that. So the spotting scope is optional, and the tripod is optional as well. This one I've got right here, I'm planning to take, it's the Spartan Precision Equipment, just because I try and keep everything playing nicely together. These work together all like pieces of a puzzle. It's got their little hoplite head on it, and I've put some slightly longer legs, so these will extend out a fair amount. I can turn this into a sitting height tripod. I can screw the legs off, use them on my bipod, whatever. And it's still tall enough that I can use that little spotting scope on it quite well. But there are a lot of good options, folks. Just don't buy a cheap $40 one at the local photography store. You do need a quality outdoor type tripod. Leupold makes good ones. Revic is making a really nice lightweight hunting tripod now. Weatherby as well is making them, so there are some great options out there. How about headlamps? Going into some smaller gear now. I like a headlamp that's waterproof but compact, and I don't mind at all if they're made out of a flimsy feeling plastic as long as they're good quality, right? This one's got a metal housing, probably aluminum or magnesium or something. It's a great lamp as well. It's real bright, but I use this little tiny one. I think these have been discontinued. I've had this thing for so many years. Heimdall. It's a little single battery headlamp, and when I sleep, I just pull that thing down off my forehead and around my neck. I keep it around there in case I need to get up and go use the outdoor facilities. If I'm tent camping, or if I need to check out a suspicious bump in the night, whatever, a little slender, lightweight, plastic-bodied headlamp around your neck, as long as it's good quality and waterproof, is a real good thing. Always, always take 2 headlamps. There's a couple reasons for this. One, invariably, one of yours seems to go on the blink. Maybe it gets turned on in your pack and the batteries run down, or whatever. More commonly, actually though, tongue-in-cheek kidding aside, your buddy may need one. He may forget one. His battery may run out or whatever. That's a piece of gear that I always carry 2 of in my pack. How about your knife? Now, a lot of folks these days are using disposable blade knives. That's fine. I think you're better off with a good fixed blade real knife. I'm going to go ahead and say it, because it'll last you your lifetime if you have a good one. You're not creating the waste that disposable knives do. And I believe they're more ergonomic and easier to use. Whether you buy one down at your local hardware store, but buy a good one with good steel, or you have a nice custom knife made, or you buy a semi-custom like those made by MKC, Montana Knife Company. Among the big makers now, those are the ones that I'm the most impressed with, but my go-to is the Northern Shrike that custom knife maker Evan Simbita makes. Simbita Custom Knives. You're probably familiar with him because he's a sponsor here on our show and a good friend of mine. Just a fantastic knife. He makes 2 or 3 runs of these each year, and we sell them only through the podcast. Doesn't take names. There's no waiting list. You just have to listen, and when we announce one in an episode, you call Evan and hope you get on the list. He generally makes 20 to 40 depending on the run and how busy he is at the time. They're fantastic. These are in use all around the world on every continent where you can hunt, and we've never had bad feedback on one yet. They run about $400. They're pricey, but it's a lifetime investment, folks. And as you can see, Evan kind of builds these so they're hard to lose, right? Usually they've got some pretty colorful components, whether it's the scales, the grip panels, or your sheath, or both. This one is glow carbon, so if you hit that with your headlamp for a minute or 2 before you start work in the dark, that thing will glow for a couple of hours, neon. It's really cool. They're hard to lose. Okay, sharpening stone. If you're going to carry a real knife, a fixed blade knife, you're going to need a sharpening stone. I've been carrying this one since my late teens, which is quite a long time. I carried a guiding. It's an easy lap, extra fine, and it's just a tiny 1x3 inch diamond stone. It's got the fishhook groove in the middle. I wish it didn't, don't need it. But I have sharpened on this hundreds if not thousands of times. I really like it. Anytime you get a new diamond stone, sharpen an axe with it, or a couple of axes, before using it on your nice knife, because even an extra fine will have some coarse granules diamond granules mixed in there, bedded into it. Knock those off with a blade that doesn't matter too much before you use it on your nice custom knife. I also always carry a Leatherman or some type of multi-tool, right? Whether it's for pulling thorns out of the bottom of your foot in southwestern desert country or Africa, or maybe pulling a fishhook out of a buddy's ear on that boat in Alaska. It's really, really useful to have a multi-tool and have a good sharp blade on it. I use the little saw on this one for cutting brush anytime I need to set up for photographs, or if I'm building a little brush blind or working out of a tree stand. That's not common for me, but I can cut branches that are in the way or whatnot. And I do keep my blade real sharp, and here's why. You may need to dress out an animal with this sooner or later. I once ended up losing a knife, or I just left it in camp. I didn't actually lose it. And I had to not just field dress, do the gutless method on, but completely bone off a mature bull elk by myself on a 45-degree boulder slide at 11,400 feet elevation. It took me 3.5 hours, but by golly, I got it done with my Leatherman before they got there with the pack horses to haul it out. It was a pretty cool deal. I boned it off. You might be wondering why, if we had horses, I boned it off. Because we had 150 yards of boulder crawling to get the meat to the horses. And it was just easier to put it in a backpack that would move with your body instead of trying to lug a quarter, you know. Anyway, it worked. It wasn't fun, but it worked. Next on my list, I've got a satellite communication device of some sort. And there are a lot of them these days, and most of them are pretty good. My go-to is a Garmin inReach Mini 2. You can pair that with your phone. They send faster than the old Mini originals did. And you can navigate on this. You drop waypoints. You can track yourself. All those good things. And there's a really nice SOS function. You just pry that button, that little watertight compartment open. Press the button inside. It'll call in the cavalry. If you're capable of answering questions on your phone, they'll ask about the nature of your injury and so forth. If not, they just come. They figure you're probably incapable of manipulating your device, so you're probably badly hurt. Anyway, it's worth having something like that, especially if you're hunting with a child in gnarly country, right? Okay, a phone with a good camera. Now, I always carry a compact digital SLR camera as well, because I'm taking photographs for magazines that I write my articles in, and I want good photographs to be able to be blown up and printed in a 2-page spread if the editor and art designer decide to do that. Even the best iPhone or other smartphone cameras these days might get you a full-page spread, but more likely the best they can do is a horizontal half page. They can pretty well fill that and it'll print with good enough resolution. That's all beside the point for most people these days. Most people keep their pictures on digital devices, and a good cell phone set to take the high-res pictures will do just fine for you. Just make sure it's a good quality one with a good quality camera, or you're not going to record the quality of images that you could to remember your adventure by. Let's see. Charging cords. I have seen people show up without a charging cord, and it's okay usually, you know, you share around, whatever, but bring charging cords. I can't stand these giant 6-foot long things that so many people have these days, and that it seems like that's your standard selection, right? So I like a little charging cord of large diameter. That means you can coil it up and stow it. It's pretty compact. And the large diameter and the short length means that it transfers electricity, puts that charge into your phone very quickly. And paired with that, I bring a battery bank. You know, there's a lot of different kinds you can use. I just grabbed this little one by Winchester. It's got a nice MagSafe element to it, so you can charge your phone without the charge cord. Can't charge something like an inReach, you know, without your charge cord, but MagSafe's gotten pretty cool. The best ones really are probably by Poseidon, the Poseidon Pro by Dark Energy. They're waterproof. They're ultra tough. When they say they hold 3 or 4 phone charges, they hold 3 or 4 or maybe 5 phone charges. I've charged my laptop computer using a Poseidon Pro and got work done against a crucial deadline in airports. What am I trying to say here? Airports where you don't have ready access to power. Okay, let's see. A kill kit. Now, this is a little different for bears than it is with a lot of different big game animals, because bears can carry parasites. In fact, often do. I usually don't worry about wearing gloves, but when I'm skinning and cutting up a bear, I wear high quality latex or some kind of plastic rubbery gloves. And you can go about this 2 ways. There's the disposable ones, which I always carry 2 or 3 pairs in my kill kit because you want your buddy to help, right? And he's going to want a pair to wear. Or you can go with fishing boat quality gloves. I'm holding a pair up right here that I use. And yeah, you can buy these in pretty much any hardware store in Alaska if you get time. Once you've arrived, stop and get some. You can usually find them around your local area too. You just may have to look harder, but bricklayers and so forth sometimes use them. I like the insulated ones because sometimes if you're working in real cold and your hands are real wet, that can be nice. Another cool thing is if it's cold and windy, these are awesome when you're fishing. So if you're on a boat and you're doing some fishing, that's great. Take a little bag of good quality meat sacks, or heck, you can take cheap meat sacks if you want. But I like, the older I get, the less I like disposable stuff. And so I like game bags that'll last, that I can wash and sterilize and then reuse. And, I take a little bit of paracord. You can tie off the tops of your game bags. You can hang them in a cool place or whatever. On the boat, we'll be hanging them from the rail of the ship to keep cool. Works real well. So that's your kill kit, right? That, along with, of course, your knife. And keep your tags handy, right? You're going to need to put those on your animal. Some people are thinking, but probably won't say, well, I may not keep the meat on my bear. And in a lot of places, it's not required. I will leave that entirely up to you folks. There's always some discussion about the quality of bear meat. Some people say bears fattened in the fall that have been eating nuts and berries are the best. Others say bears, that you shoot in the spring where they've just been feeding on green grass are the best because they haven't been into the salmon streams. Well, you probably already cottoned on. It depends a lot on where you're shooting your bear. If you're shooting it near a lot of dead and decaying salmon, and that's what they're eating, he's probably going to taste like rotten fish. If you're shooting him where there's acorns and berries, he's probably going to taste pretty good. Areas where there's grain crops and those bears are in the grain crops, those bears can taste fantastic. It's not required by law to salvage the meat in many places. Know your local laws where you will be hunting and make a good decision, but personally I encourage you to do so just because, well, it feels wasteful to leave good meat behind. And we'll leave that at that. You can see I'm taking a kill kit, if that tells you what I do. All right, hunting clothing. Now, I didn't lay out everything I've got here. Just take what works for you. Good quality clothing. It doesn't have to be $1,000 worth of the name brand stuff. Just good, comfortable clothing that's durable, and kind of avoid cotton anywhere that you're going to be real wet for a long time. What I did set out here on the table in front of me are some examples of what I consider the crucial stuff. A really good merino base layer. This one is by Stone Glacier, and it's a hoodie, which I like because I often wear this in my sleeping bag when the nights are cold, and I can pull that light thin hood up over my head. Keeps my ears warm so they don't ache, and just helps me sleep well. Merino wool is naturally antimicrobial, so it's not going to start to smell bad as fast as synthetics, and it insulates really well when it's damp. So if you sweat inside your rain gear, it's going to help keep you warm. That brings us to rain gear. Alaska can be torrential, right? If I was hunting out of a tent, I would probably be taking some rubberized rain gear by Helly Hansen or Grundon or one of those. If I took some lightweight backpacking stuff, it'd probably be my Sitka Stormfront, which I've used a ton. It really works darn well. It did give up eventually in New Zealand when we were so saturated last month. What I've got right here is what I think is the best rain gear available for the price, and this is a Browning kit, right? Pants and jacket, packs down real nice, has a good membrane inside it, whatever it is. I've had good luck with this stuff, and the nice thing about hunting bear off a boat like this is every night you can hang your wet gear in their drying room. They have a small drying room that circulates air and warmth, and it'll dry your boots out, your rain gear out, your clothing out. So for that, I'm probably going to take this really packable stuff by Browning, and it's inexpensive. It's, I think, less than $100 for your pants and $100 for your jacket, which those of you know, if you've been shopping high-end brand name stuff like the Sitka and Kuiu and First Light and all of those, Stone Glacier, they're usually several $100s per piece. Anyway, that's what I'm going to be taking, I believe, for my daughter. And I'll probably wear something else, either the Sitka Stormfront or something else. Okay, so next on my list, I've got muck boots. How often do you take muck boots hunting? Not very often, right? So I've corresponded with the captain, Travis Larson, up there, and he said that muck boots are going to be the way to go for that. We're not going to be in swampy areas where you'd want hip boots, but we're going to be getting in and out of that Zodiac frequently enough that we're going to want something more than your typical ankle height leather boots, even when combined with gaiters, right? So, yeah, muck boots. Pick something that's got a little bit of insulation. Muck boots or similar boots by Lacrosse or whatever, right? A little bit of insulation that feels good on your feet and that aren't so big they feel like you're walking on horseshoes. And man, I'm still probably going to take some lightweight leather hiking hunting boots in case we have to climb at some point. I'll put those on with some gaiters to climb high for bears. And then the backcountry hunter's best friend around camp, a pair of Crocs. These are just boat shoes, right? Boats are often wet. We'll be fishing a lot. I want something that'll be good to my feet, keep my feet comfortable, let them air out a bit. There's no air in muck boots, and there's very little air in wet leather boots. So Crocs, love them or hate them, are a very, very useful tool in a hunting camp, whether you're backcountry hunting or hunting off a boat and fishing a lot. Next on my list, I've got wool socks. I don't really need to show you those, right? They're just, get good ones. Buy high quality with a high wool percentage count in them. A sleeping bag. Again, we're going to be on a boat in little cots with little pads in them, so we don't need to even bring our own pads, and I'm not going to fuss too much about my sleeping bag. I'm going to bring a nice light down one because the boat stays at least relatively warm. It's not going to get cold. I just want something comfortable. A quilt. If you like a summer camp with a quilt, would be perfect. It's different than if we were doing a backpack in and spike camp type situation. In that case, in Alaska, I'd want a synthetic bag and a high quality one because I would anticipate being wet in it. Ball cap. It's a funny thing, but especially if you wear glasses in the field like I do, something to keep the rain off your lenses is pretty important. Alaska can be overcast a lot, so we may not need it to protect from the sun, but just to keep the rain off your glasses, pull the hood of your rain jacket up over the top, and that's a pretty handy thing. I also take a beanie, just a good wool beanie, in case it gets quite cold, and I'll pull that right down over my ball cap and over my ears. That way I've got the protection from the mist and the rain, protecting my glasses. A neck gaiter. Of course, that's just, your pull it down over your head, keeps your neck warm. You can pull it up over your nose and face if you want to use it as you're stalking. Let's say you're bow hunting to prevent your face from being too light or whatever. A good option to that, a very traditional option, is just a silk scarf. You can tie that around your neck. You can tie it across your nose like bank robber style. Old time cowboys call these wild rags, and I grew up wearing one of these, working cattle in some very cold desert conditions, and so that's kind of a favorite of mine. Moving on down the list, we talked about the gloves, the rubberized gloves. It's also smart to take just some good warm hunting gloves, something light enough that you can handle your equipment with, semi-waterproof. I've had these ones. These are some Sitka gloves. I don't even know the model, but I've had them since 2017 and worked them real hard, and they're still in great shape. So again, if you buy quality gear, they'll last you a long time. Medicine. Here's a big one, folks. Of course, if you have a medicinal, I don't know how to put it, but a health issue, diabetes, or anything like that, blood pressure that you, have to maintain, by all means, take your medicine and take extra. Another big one is if you are prone to allergic reactions, catastrophic allergic reactions, you go into anaphylactic shock or anything like that, whether it's a bee sting, shellfish on a boat, right? Peanuts and the candy bar somebody gave you, I don't know what have you, but take an EpiPen or a handful of them and make sure your hunting partner always has one and that they know how to use it. Other than that, it's just pretty standard stuff. I mean, I won't take this whole bag that I'm holding up in front of me, but I'll take select parts out of it. I've got sunscreen in there. That can actually be really helpful if you're getting wind chapped and kind of having the sun beating on you while you're fishing. I take some kind of antacid, whether it's Tums or Rolaids or whatever, because, well, sometimes you need it. If you're prone to motion sickness on a boat, take Imodium or something like that. Is that the right one, or is Imodium for diarrhea? Anyway, take motion sickness medicine. I also take some pretty aggressive cold medicine. I bring along the 12-hour Mucinex D tablets because those will keep me feeling well enough to hunt even if I get a bad cold, as well as some NyQuil tablets help me sleep, some good cough drops, and what have you. That's just to help you stay as comfortable as possible, you or a hunting partner, if you do happen to come down quite sick during your hunt. A dry bag. Anytime you're hunting where there's going to be a lot of moisture, take at least one medium to small dry bag. You can keep a camera in this, electronics in this. Like in front of me, maybe you can see this field recorder. It's a little H4n Pro made by the company called Zoom, different than the online program, but it's my field recorder that I've recorded podcasts around the world on in boats and tents and howling rain, and it's been fantastic, but I need to keep that dry, right? So I put it in a dry bag along with my little digital SLR camera, your sandwich if you don't want it getting soggy, anything you want to keep dry during the day's hunt, just drop that into your day pack because often your backpack will get saturated. Also, some kind of field wipes, whether you get the, what do they call them, dude wipes, something like that, or my preference are these field wipes by Scent Killer, because you can use them on your armpits if you start getting a little rank. You can use them for any number of tasks in the field. They'll help your hunt stay a lot more comfortable. It's not on my list, so while I'm looking at it, I'm going to shift gears a little bit and talk about this real quick. You need to travel with, on an airplane, you need a good locking hard case. The best are by Pelican and similar companies, right? They're stout enough you can drop them off a 2-story building and they're probably not going to break. They'll protect your gun inside. Your scope will probably be knocked off, but just from the jar when it lands. Then when you go to lock it up, airlines now require that you have a lock in every single locking point. And good combination locks are the way to go. I used to just use little key locks, and I've had to find somebody with shears, like big metal chain snip type shears, too many times in airports and so forth because I lost my keys, right? It sucks, but the way to avoid that is by using a good combination lock. Probably going to need 4 of them for all the points on your gun case. And the best ones, they're going to be expensive, but they have a little key point that TSA agents can use to access the contents of your gun case, which really helps. If you're already through the terminal and you're waiting at your gate and they decide the x-ray tells them they need to see something inside, they have to call you back to open it with your keys. It's a real pain, and you have to go back through security, blah, blah, blah. I've had that happen to me. It's not fun. So I spent about $60 recently to get these good bright orange combination and TSA compatible locks. On the note of a gun case, I take at least one thick layer of foam out. I don't do the whole gun cutout thing. I know it's pretty and it makes you feel good, protects your gun well, but then I'm not able to put much else in that case. I take the foam out, I put my rifle in a good padded case, put that inside the hard case and pack clothing around it. You can put things like your hunting knife and your bipod, tripod, other heavy items in there. Pack that puppy right up to 49 pounds and you'll save a lot of weight. Oh, we got water rushing now. Pack that puppy up to 49 pounds and you'll save a lot of weight in your standard luggage and in your carry-on. Now, speaking of soft cases, I'm using these new versions by Alps Outdoors. It's a fully waterproof, floatable case with some good straps that you can bolt that puppy onto some different things. It's got a roll top, and so far I'm real impressed with them. Nice carry handle, carry strap. That will fit into most Pelican type cases. So put your rifle in it, now it's padded and protected, and pack your clothing around it. You're good to go. We're nearing the end here, folks. We need to talk about a little bit of rifle maintenance in the field. So what I do, I take a little bottle of oil, smaller than this, but I figured I'd use this one because those of you watching can be able to see it easier. And I like CLP, cleaner, lubricant, and preservative. Most of that stuff has passed the required test to qualify for military use, and so it works really, really well. I take that. I take a boar snake of whatever description and make you want to use. These original Hoppies ones work pretty well. You can put a little bit of oil in front of and behind the bristle portion. Pull that through your rifle barrel 3 or 4 times and it'll clean the crud out. If you got debris in there or whatever, it'll dry it out and it'll lay down a layer of oil. So your rifle's going to stay safe hunting through that nasty saltwater conditions. Roll of electrical tape to tape off your muzzle and prevent that debris from getting into it in the first place, along with water. You get too much rainwater in your rifle muzzle, you can actually blow up your barrel, split your barrel. Not a good thing, so avoid that, of course. And then I take a little kit, a Fix-It Sticks kit. This one is put together by Leupold, but they're made by Fix-It Sticks, and it's got a couple of little torque, correct torque click over type inserts and the pertinent bits that I need to remount a scope or repair, take a rifle out of the stock and do some repairs, whatever. I've never had to do that in the field yet, but I have had to tighten action bolts when the action in the stock started wiggling because the action bolts were backing out. And that was lucky that I had the correct tools handy. Also, make sure you've got sunglasses and sunscreen if you're going to be fishing like we will. If you're even just stream fishing with a little backpack and fly rod or something, it can be nice to have good polarized sunglasses, and of course protects your eyes from flying hooks. And then chapstick. I don't have one to hold up here. You all know what chapstick is. And that, I think, folks, is pretty much it. Oh, I did miss a couple things right here. I'm just looking around at my tabletop trying to see what I didn't talk about. Couple of little items that aren't necessarily crucial but can be very helpful. One is Leuko tape. This is glorified sports tape. It's spelled L-E-U-K-O. And the stuff sticks like iron. It's extremely tough. I've known of sheep hunters that repair their boots with this stuff, strap loose soles back on their boots, and it functions, right? Long enough to get them through their hunt. Really good blister treatment. You just put that over a hot spot before it actually comes up. Leave it on for the duration of your hunt and you'll be fine. You can even repair equipment with this stuff because it's so strong. It's just expensive high-end sports tape, right? And then the other one that I really like to take with me, especially as I'm getting older, and I'm not an insomniac yet, but I do have a hard time sleeping in an unusual bed for the first couple nights. And when you don't rest well, you can't hunt hard. So I usually take ibuprofen or something when I'm real sore at night anyway to alleviate that pain. Advil works very similar, much the same on inflamed sore muscles. And if you get the PM stuff, it'll help you sleep in that unfamiliar bed the first couple nights or whatever. You can take a half dose, 1 tablet or 2 if you're having a real hard time sleeping. Just a trick that will help you rest well in the field and help the sore muscles recover a little bit. Okay, I think that's about it. We're going to wrap up here. I am going to do a couple more gear lists this year. I want to do one on Africa because I get a lot of questions on what should I take to Africa, right? And there are some unique things that you do need to take, and there are some things that a lot of folks take that they never need, and so that's worth addressing. And I want to do a more backpack oriented one as fall comes on, probably in August, because I'm hoping to do some deep spike camping, archery hunting for elk in September. So folks, remind me, early August, send me a message on Instagram or email me. Best way really to get a hold of me is to write in on patreon.com/backcountry. There's a messaging app there that works really well, and I prioritize those for our loyal Patreon members above all others. Okay, I just found 2 more items that I should talk about briefly. One is a suppressor, and yes, I am going to have this on the rifle that Sophie and I will be hunting with. This one is the little, I think it's 7.8 or 9 ounces titanium suppressors, the Banished Backcountry by Silencer Central, and I've got it in a good wrap that helps keep it from pinging if I hit it against a rock or branch in the field, and it keeps it from creating heat waves if I have to shoot more than 3 shots in a row. And then of course the alternative or supplement to that, especially if your hunting buddy is packing a rifle with a muzzle brake, earplugs. I like these ones on a little string or whatnot between them. You can just wrap them around your neck and let them hang, and these ones have a little stout plastic stem on them that you can use to jam them into your ears real fast. You don't have to sit there and roll them for a minute like true foam earplugs and then insert them carefully. You can just kind of aim and jam these into your ears and go to work with your rifle. And with that, folks, we're going to wrap up. Thanks for tuning in today and either listening on our audio-only podcast or viewing on YouTube. My son William's doing all the editing on YouTube. This is kind of his baby, and we'd sure appreciate it if you would head over there and subscribe to the Backcountry Hunting Podcast. Give us a watch if you want to see some of these cool products, these gear items that I have in front of me. Meanwhile, hope you're doing great on your own spring bear hunts. If you're not out spring bear hunting, you should be. If you can't do it this year, plan for it next year. I'm Joseph von Benedict, and I'll see you in the backcountry.